Another reading code exercise. So here we have our code, and we'll go ahead and I've already opened this up in live, so let's click the deal button. And it shows a little war game. We have player A and player B. It keeps track of who wins, keeps track of wins over several different rounds of the game. So we can click deal and just keep playing it. So you'll see here that for such a simple game, there's a fair amount of code involved. Now, I've also included a JavaScript file called dump.js. I said in an earlier exercise that console.log is used often to debug code. Dump is a little different. Dump provides you with a graphical illustration of what a variable looks like. There are times when you'll end up with a complex data type with lots of nesting. It's hard to know how to visualize it, so let me show you what I mean. Henry VIII is a variable representing the infamous King of England. It has information about his life, his marriages, the children from those marriages. It's fairly complex. Now, when you work with something like this, having to drill down to get to a specific property, it's very important to be able to imagine what the data structure looks like. Now, we can console.log Henry. Now, to get to the console, we right-click in the browser and click Inspect. And then I'll just shift this a little bit. And then click on the console. And then I'm going to come down here and just uncomment my little console log. And so that you can see here that we have Henry VIII, and we have his marriages and his spouse and children. It's better than nothing for sure. But we can do better with dump. So I'm going to give this more real estate. And then I'm going to uncomment dump. And you now can see this in, I think, much better detail. You can see that it's an array, that inside of the array there's an object. Inside of the object there are children, is an array. Just makes it much easier to see what's going on. And you might want to use dump as you go through the code for the war game to just look at various bits of code to see what is in them. So here's a suggestion. Before you look at my solution, which by the way is just one possible solution, create the steps that you'd use for this game. You can do this on paper or open up a separate file. And honestly, this probably won't be fun. You're likely to feel stuck, unable to do what to do next, to know what to do. But you want to know a deeply held programmer secret. This is what all programmers go through. Just recently, I was developing an expense report app. I'd been working on it several days when I just ran into a wall. I did all the stuff I advised you to do in an earlier exercise, but none of that really worked. So finally, I called a programmer friend, and after we looked at the code together for about 30 minutes or so, he pointed out a pretty big mistake I'd made by, of all things, not making a sufficient plan. I knew what he told me was right, and I ended up with a day's worth of wasted effort just because I got lazy. So don't make the same mistake, and don't get discouraged if even with your best efforts the results aren't great. You're just starting out. Have you ever done anything significant that you did perfectly right off the bat? Programming is no different. But put in the effort, even if you're not happy with the results. It's really the only way to learn. And here's the good news, you will get better over time. And now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some code to rework. See you in exercise 48.